It might sound like I'm an unapologetic bitch, but sometimes you know I gotta call it like it is. It might sound like I'm an unapologetic bitch, but sometimes you know I gotta call it like it is. You know you never really know how much you love me till you lost me, did you? You know you never really know how much your selfish bullshit cost me. Well, fuck, you might sound like I'm
Okay, so welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me on Gay Mass 2014 year-end show. Just talking about what happened this year with me, with the show, with the world, with gay culture, and so forth. And thanks for listening. That was a little sample of Unapologetic Bitch, one of my favorite songs from Madonna's new album, Rebel Heart. Be sure, if you haven't already, pre-order the album. You can get the first 6 songs on the album free by doing so on iTunes. Also, Rebel Heart and Wash All Over Me are great songs as well, which are not included on the free songs, but they're included on the album. So be sure to check those out. Thanks for listening to the show. I haven't done this show in a long time. I've been so fucking busy, but it's a good thing, to stay busy and be busy. It is, what is today? Today's the December 29th, 2014. At 11:20 p.m. Central Time. So thanks for listening, wherever you're listening from, live or otherwise. And tonight we're talking about, just basically what happened this year and in 2014. And I'm also going to read a letter to you that a friend of mine, a listener of the show, Caleb, has written for a website, liberalamerica.org. And he wrote this about something he's called my show about many times, which is his relationship, his boyfriend's relationship with his parents and their homophobia and their refusal to accept his boyfriend and his partner, excuse me. So I'm going to read that a little bit later on in the show, so be sure to stick around for that. If you've listened to the show before, you've heard him call into the show and you've heard him talk about his relationship, so it might be interesting to you to listen to that. And even if you haven't, it's interesting to hear about how his parents, his boyfriend's parents, have treated him around Christmas. These people who claim to be highly religious and highly Christian have sort of, that's the thing I feel about, most Christians are they're hypocrites, and they never ever live up to their expectations of others, which is just the epitome of hypocrisy. So anyway, that's what we're going to talk about tonight on the show. I think the last show I did was a month ago or so, I guess, and the end of the year is always busy for me and business, etc. Trying to wrap things up before, the holidays and, in my own life as well. And it's been a really busy year for me personally. I've been, busier this year than I have in a long time. I've done, probably double the billings I've done in my business. Than I've done any other year in my life. So it's been an extremely good year for me financially and expanding my business, growing my business, and that kind of thing. So it's been a good thing for me, and I think for other people as well. I think the economy this year has begun to finally turn around a bit. At least it seems to be, especially, my sector of the economy and my business is a good indicator for everybody in the country because, I deal with people who are building their brand new homes and they want them designed, so I design them for them, or they want the interior design done or construction or whatever. So if I'm doing well, that means that a lot of other people are as well, because when people are doing well, I'm not doing well. So when they are, I do as well. So that means most people are probably doing better than before. So good for you if you are doing better this year. It's definitely a good feeling after the few years we had in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011 that were much more slim pickings for clientele if you're a small business owner and you're in the luxury or the construction sector of the world. But anyway, that's enough about that. So, but what I want to talk about this tonight is basically, kind of just go over and discuss what has happened this year in 2014 in the gay world and in the world in general, but generally what's affected we gay people in the world this year. And one of the things was, the Sochi Olympics in February this year, the 2014 Sochi Winter Olympics. They kind of got off to a rocky start because of Putin, Russia's prime minister. He backed a law against gay, quote, propaganda. And he essentially equated homosexuality with pedophilia and enacted legislation to remove children from the custody of their gay parents. And also refused to allow a pride house, as they call it, for LGBT Olympians. And even the mayor said that there were no gays living in the city, despite there obviously being gays living in the city. Anyway, so the entire world not the entire world, but many countries ganged up and condemned Russia for doing this. And, even here in the United States, there was a great deal of backlash in terms of not buying Russian products like certain vodkas, et cetera. So, it unfortunately was a kind of a rough start to gay rights. But, in countries like Russia, where you have a culture that is enmeshed in machismo, and a lot of countries are like that. America has that to a degree, but it's not so much as it is in other countries like Russia and in Mexico and Italy and Spain and in Latin or countries especially, and also Eastern European countries seem to have a great deal of machismo, flowing around. And so they have to, anything that threatens their quote unquote masculinity is a frightening thing to them. So they don't want anybody to think they're gay, or by supporting gay rights, or by saying that they should have the same rights as everyone else. They do everything they can to ensure that people think or understand that they are not gay, which, typically has the opposite effect if thou doth protest too much. So if you do actually tend to, always go around saying, I'm not gay, I can't stand gays are fucking gross or whatever, it's really just kind of calling to the forefront that you probably are a closeted homo. So, it's best to just kind of shut the fuck up and leave gay people alone who've done nothing to you in the first place. Oh shit. Dropped my water. Hold on. Yeah, dropped my water bottle. In the first place, because, you're just making it look like you're a homo, and you go around, you're on the down low, sucking dick behind the doors. So just shut the fuck up and live your life and let us live ours. But someone like Putin, who's a fucking idiot anyway, it doesn't really surprise me, or anyone else for that matter, that he would be someone who would feel this way and act this way. And this is a guy who goes around riding, on the back of a horse with no shirt on. And he's only like 5'8" or something. He's really short. And he's like not even, so he's got that Napoleon complex, and his country's like going down the drain. And so he has to posture and make himself look bigger and more strong, like bull, It's just a very typical MO for homophobes. Anyway, and then we had, in May of this year, we had Laverne Cox, who was on the cover of Time magazine. And if you don't know who Laverne Cox is, she is the transgender actress from Orange is the New Black. She plays the beautician on the show that's in prison as well. And she's a hold on a second. She's a really outspoken advocate for gay rights, but specifically for transgender rights. And she was on the cover of Time magazine. She's the first transgender person ever nominated for an Emmy Award for her role in Orange is the New Black. And she's also the very first transgender person to appear on the cover of Time magazine. It was a big deal. So, kudos for her. And, I think this is the next fight as the next frontier in civil liberties and civil rights is transgender rights. It's not that we gays have full equality yet, because we don't, obviously, but we have come a a very long way, and we have made a great deal of headway in the fight for equality. Whereas the transgender community, even though they are part of our community, the gay community, it's not the same struggle because they don't, the rights that we have been fighting for as a gay community don't always necessarily also affect them. They should, but they haven't. So the next thing that's going to happen is for transgender people to get full equality themselves, hopefully, eventually. And they will, and, we will as well as gay people, because we are already headed that way. 35 states in the country now recognize gay marriage, so that's great. July 21st of this year, President Obama signed an executive order adding sexual orientation and gender identity to the categories protected in the existing anti-discrimination executive order covering federal contractors. So it covered federal contractors as well as, people working for the government. They can no longer be discriminated against based on gender identity or sexual orientation. So that's a great progress. And, as usual, President Obama, as I've said many times on the show, despite what you may think about him or his other policies, fiscal or otherwise, his policies for gay people he's done more for gay people than any other president in history. I've said this many times before. And people seem to forget that or be short-sighted about it. And he deserves far more credit from the gay community than he's getting and has gotten. And some of it I think is even racially motivated sometimes, because I think there's racist even of course within the gay community, which is such an a dichotomy in my mind, but they exist by experience and certainly just by observation. They do exist, and so they sometimes don't like him because he's black. And other people don't like him because he hasn't done enough, they say, for gay people. I think he's done more than anybody else. So that's all you can ask for, especially from a politician. So I'm very proud of him and what he's done for gay people this year and in the past. MacArthur Genius Grants. The John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation awarded Genius Grants of $625,000 each to 3 gay winners. Civil rights attorney Mary Bonotto, who's a civil rights project director at Gay and Lesbian Advocates and Defenders Guild versus Office of Personnel Management. Cartoonist and graphic memoirist, I guess, Allison Bechtel. Graphic novels Fun Home and Are You My Mother, and long-running comic strip Dykes to Watch Out For, and playwright Samuel Hunter, The Whale, The Few, Rest, and The Great Wilderness. So that is a very impressive thing to have happened this year. I wish I would have been one of them if I'd done something worthy. There's Uganda, of course. Uganda is a country in Africa, and of course, African countries are notoriously homophobic, as are African Americans and Africans in general. Just culturally are extremely anti-gay as a whole. Not every single one of them, but I'd say the largest percentage of them are. And it's permeated the culture of African Americans here in America as well. But a lot of it comes from their beliefs, their beliefs in religion and what they believe in. But they definitely are extraordinarily anti-gay. And John Kerry, who's the U.S. Secretary of State, announced plans to send American scientists to Uganda to counteract their quote-unquote science, which was cited by their president, Yoweri Museveni, when he signed into law the Anti-Homosexuality Act, which imposes prison sentences for same-sex sexual activity between consenting adults and makes it a criminal act to anybody who aids or abets, quote, homosexuality or LGBT people. When he signed the law in February, he pointed to what he called a scientific report from an anti-gay Ugandan lawmaker with, quote, medical background, and concluded that homosexuality was partially innate, but mostly influenced by environment and active recruitment. So on August 1st, the Constitutional Court of Uganda ruled that the law was